Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. To the Minister of Health, can the Minister indicate whether an independent investigation will be launched to determine what the NICU infection prevention and control protocols were breached that resulted in the deaths of 7 babies between April the 4th and 7th at the Port of Spain General Hospital?
Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, from the onset, may I once again extend most sincere condolences to the families of those 7 babies. In the statement I read out to the lower house on Friday, I did indicate that an independent investigation will be launched. To that end, the Ministry of Health has already engaged the Pan American Health Organization to do same. I thank you very much, sir.
Senator Mark.
Mr. President, can I ask the Honorable Minister, this independent investigation by PAHO, can the Minister indicate to this Honorable House the composition of this team from PAHO, which he claims is an independent team?
Minister of Health.
As is, well, I wouldn't say customary, but what PAHO has requested is the information that we have. Based on the information that we have, then they will determine the composition of the team to look into the specific areas of concern. So we don't have the composition as yet. It depends on the information and data we send to them, and then they will determine what areas of specialty or concern and appoint the appropriate persons.
Senator Mark.
Can I ask the Minister of Health, having regard to the doctrine of ministerial accountability and responsibility in the context of the passing of these 7 babies under tragic circumstances, whether he is prepared to tell this Parliament when he will be tendering his resignation to the people of Trinidad and Tobago? Can I ask the Minister that question?
No, you can't. That question is not allowed, Senator Mark. Next question on the order paper.
To the outgoing Minister of Health. Oh, I think
Senator
that...
Mark.
Should I... Is that... I think that is Senator Chanty. The second question, sir.
Oh, Senator Lakshmi.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. To the Minister of Health, can the Minister advise whether the parents of the 7 babies who died at the NICU at the Port of Spain General Hospital has been provided with the medical notes and records as requested from the said hospital?
Minister of Health.
Thank you very much. Yes, to Senator Lakshmi and the wider public, I'm advised by the officials at Northwest RHA, those files are currently, as we speak, being copied, and hopefully the parents will have their copies by the end of the day or by tomorrow for the latest. That is what my advice is.
Ramdial.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, has the Ministry of Health intervened since becoming aware of the situation that occurred, given that up to 4 p.m. yesterday there was no response to the pre-action correspondence? Has the ministry intervened to ensure that there has been no tampering, altering, or destruction
So, Senator
of the
Lakshmi,
medical records?
I'm hearing about 2 or 3 questions inside there. You need to truncate that and be very succinct in the question that you're asking.
Has the Ministry of Health intervened or taken any action to ensure that there has been no tampering, altering, or destruction of the medical notes which has occurred, to ensure that the records are preserved and properly presented to the parents, given the effluxion of time since the request has been made?
So that question does not arise, Senator Lakshmi Ramdial. Next supplemental.
given that, as been reported in the newspaper, the parents have also requested that records dating back as far as January 2024 in relation to deaths that have occurred at the NICU. Is the Ministry of Health prepared to intervene to ensure that this information is disclosed and provided to the parents?
Minister of Health.
Whatever information needs to be disclosed on the advice of the attorneys will be disclosed.
Senator Mark.
Thank you. To the Honourable Minister of Education, in light of death threats made to teachers and students of the Barkpore East Secondary School, can the Minister provide a status report on any investigation into these threats?
Leader of Government Business.
Mr. President, in every instance of threats being leveled against any school, which is happening too often in our society, the Ministry of Education seeks the immediate guidance and involvement of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. The Ministry of Education cooperates fully, provides all pertinent information, and operationalizes any and all security plans and advice received. With respect to the investigations, however, such matters fall squarely within the remit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and not the Ministry of Education. And the Ministry of Education is not authorized to speak on behalf of any investigative details. The Ministry of Education continues to work closely with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to ensure the security and safety of all students and staff members at all of our nation's schools. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Mark.
Mr. President, may I ask you, through you to the Honourable Minister, why, Honourable Minister, in light of these grave threats to the life and limb of students and teachers, that the Ministry of Education has not taken any measures to shut down this particular school in order to safeguard the lives of both students and teachers?
Leader of Government Business.
Mr. President, as I took care to carefully enunciate and illuminate, the Ministry of Education cooperates fully and provides all information and operationalizes any and all security plans and guidance received from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. That applies in the instance of this threat and any other incident related within the education sector. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Mark.
In light of the fact that the Ministry of Education received the death threat from the police since Sunday, could the minister indicate, in light of receipt of that particular threat, what action, if any, was taken by the ministry to ensure that children and teachers were not present at the school on Monday and on Tuesday, respectively? Can I ask, Mr. President, through you to the Honourable Minister, to clear the air on this matter?
Minister.
Mr. President, that has already been responded to. The Ministry of Education has operationalized and will continue to operationalize all the security plans and guidance as received by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. All measures have already been taken with response to this particular incident and other similar incidents. In the particular circumstance, Threats were received via email, which were taken seriously. A series of actions were undertaken, and the Ministry of Education is not authorized to deliver any details on the substance of those ongoing investigations. Thank you, Mr. President.
Questions on notice, questions for oral answer.
Leader of Government Business.
Mr. President, with respect to questions for oral response, the government is prepared to answer questions number 27, number 41, number 53, number 55, number 88, number 89, number 90, number 91, number 93, and number 94, which is 100% of the questions for oral response on the order paper. Questions for written response, the government is prepared to circulate answers to questions number 91, to questions number 81, number 82, number 83, number 85, and number 86, and we request a deferral of 2 weeks on question number 64 for written response. Thank you, Mr. President.
So, Leader of Government Business, the deferral that you're requesting on that particular question has already been deferred at an earlier stage. Senator Mark, you had something to say?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact, I think it's 27, Standing Order 2716. I seek to invoke Standing Order 2716 of the Senate Standing Orders in respect of question number 64, Honorable President.
Okay, so Senator Mark, your request is so noted, and that standing order will be actioned.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Mark?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Honorable President. Yeah, Honorable President, question number 27 to the Minister of National Security.
Minister of National Security.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The use of firearms by prison officers is guided by the Firearms Act, Chapter 1601 as amended, and the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Services Firearms Policy as outlined by General Order Number 91 of 2016. This policy sets out the prison services firearm users protocols, which governs, inter alia, procedures for storage of firearms and ammunition issued to prison officers while at work, at their respective residences, during travel, and when conducting their affairs and carrying firearms in public. With respect to the particular social gathering, quote unquote, as suggested by the Senator, it should be noted that based on information received from the Commissioner of Prisons, the event was an internal, pre-planned, prison officers only, and in one case, an authorized person. It was that type of affair that was held in a secluded, limited access, high security zone that had undergone a thorough security sweep prior to its occupation by prison officers on that occasion. Mr. President, I thank you.
Senator Mark.
Mr. President, having regard to the response given by the Minister of National Security, can the Minister indicate, given this thorough security sweep that took place. Can the minister explain why these firearms belonging to the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service was seen hanging from a tree during the said social gathering? If all this security sweep was conducted, Mr. President, can the minister indicate why this thing went viral and Trinidad and Tobago saw these two weapons and so on display?
Minister of National Security.
It is precisely for the reasons as I have stated that it was possible for an individual in possession and control of a firearm to have placed it close to him. Of course, what the society saw was an element of a video that someone might have shared. But at all times, Mr. President, that firearm, those firearms were in the control of the officers to whom they were lawfully issued, especially given that possession can be actual and or constructive, but control nonetheless.
Senator Mark.
Mr. President, given the clear breaches that have occurred and the confession made by the Honorable Minister to this Honorable Senate, can the Honorable Minister indicate whether the government intends to launch an independent investigation into this matter, Mr. President?
Minister.
Mr. President, I really fear, I perish the thought of descending into banality. I have given a clear answer. I know where the senator operates, but I have given a very clear answer, and his suggestion is therefore as invalid as the thoughts that drive them. Thank you.
Senator Mark.
Yeah, Mr. President, this is a very serious, in light of this development in which the protocols governing firearms were breached. Can the minister indicate to this Honorable Senate whether any action has been taken to deal with the particular individuals whose firearms were clearly on display in contravention to well-established protocols?
Mr. President, the suggestion by the Honorable Senator is bold. The Senator is calling for an investigation, and in the same breath is telling this Honorable House that there was a breach. You see why I am afraid of banality, Mr. President? I could say no more.
Of incompetency. That's what you're afraid of.
Senator Mark, ask a question, please.
Mr. President, you understand why this country is in the state that it is in today under this rudderless, leaderless
Senator Mark,
minister?
Senator Mark, have a seat. You have a final supplemental on this question. Please ask it.
With due respect, I would ask this minister to leave this chamber, and I will proceed to the next question.
Members. Senator Mark, as you are well aware, the authority to do such lies with me and only with me. I will ask you, Senator Mark, I will ask you again. You have a fourth supplemental, ask it. No supplemental. Next question on the order paper, Senator Mark.
I propose what I did.
Next question on the order paper.
Yes. Mr. President, is it question number 41, sir?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. Question number 41 to the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries.
Minister of Energy and Energy Industries.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, all of NGC's directors, including its chairman, are paid fees and allowances in accordance with the State Enterprises Performance Monitor Manual. As a result, NGC's chairman is paid the following fees and allowances in relation to the A and C companies, which make up the NGC group of companies, and in respect of which he has been appointed to serve as chairman. 3A companies, $10,000 a month, travel allowance of $1,000 per month. 13C companies, fees, $6,500 a month, $1,000 a month travel allowance. With respect to part 2 of the question, the total amount of money spent on the chairman's overseas travel by the NGC, its subsidiaries, and associated investment companies since his appointment is $30,414.09 US currency. With respect to the third part of the question, the chairman of the NGC is a holder of a doctorate in business management from the Australian Institute of Business and a master's degree in business administration from the Henley Management College in United Kingdom, among numerous other professional certificates and diplomas from respected institutions in engineering, project management, and other fields of expertise. He's also a member of the Project Management Institute, which is the world's most recognized project management certification, and a fellow of the American Academy of Project Managers. His full list of qualifications will be circulated to the honorable members of this House.
Mr. Mark.
Yes. Through you, Mr. President, can I ask the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries if he can provide the Senate with a breakdown of the travels of this honorable gentleman during the period under review? We got a breakdown of some, I think he said was, is it 30 or 80?
30.
30,000 US.
So you want a further breakdown of what he
If
stated?
the honorable minister can share that with us.
Minister.
The answer is yes, that can be provided.
Senator Mark.
Minister, can you provide, as we are in this chamber, a tight summary of the overseas travels of this gentleman?
Yes, I can. For NGC, there was travel to Barbados on the 5th of June 2023, an in-country board meeting, which is required in accordance with the Barbados Companies Law. That was $699 US. Under NGC, again, there was travel to Amsterdam between the 10th to the 12th of July 2023 for the IA2 conference 2023. That was $12,877 US and 72 cents. For PPGPL, there was a visit to Phoenix Park Energy Marketing LLC office, which is an American company that PPGPL acquired the ownership of, that is doing quite well. He went to visit the staff at the Hull terminal and a meeting with key clients with a view to negotiating the amicable resolution of a potential claim that cost US $2,727. There was a visit to Phoenix Park Energy Marketing Limited, again another entity acquired in the United States as part of the diversification by the NGC group outside of Trinidad and Tobago. That was done, and that cost $4,047 US and 96 cents. For national energy, there was travel to Guyana for an in-country board meeting required in accordance with the Companies Law of Guyana for $1,925.59 US. Travel to Suriname for engagement with government representatives with a view to establishing cross-border synergies and pursuing renewable energy project opportunities, again diversification by the group, for US $2,493.39. Then there were the energy conferences in both Guyana and Suriname. For Guyana, it was $3,704.37 US, and for the energy conference in Suriname, $1,939.06 US dollars.
Through you to the Honorable Minister of Energy. Can you advise this Honorable Senate in the government's thrust towards diversification? Can you tell us, in the United States, as you mentioned, can you share with us what tangible benefits we have been able to realize thus far from these efforts?
Thank you very much.
Minister of Energy.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. The NGC Group's two recent acquisitions, recent being, if I remember correctly, from the year 2019, under PPGPL, have been what we call NGL acquisitions, and in particular, the acquisition of a hull and terminal that deals with the distribution of LPG from the United States down into the markets, not only of the United States, but also of Mexico. The other terminal as well, the second investment, is related to that, and these two investments into the United States economy that are now supplying both the United States as well as Mexico are providing the group through PPGPL with foreign exchange earnings, growth, and opportunities outside of Trinidad and Tobago. And they are both direct successes of this government's efforts with the NGC Group to diversify outside of Trinidad and Tobago. This is how this government has invested the money of the people of Trinidad and Tobago through NGC, as opposed to utilizing $1 billion in cash for the Beetham wastewater plant and funding of SIS, which is a well-known UNC financier.
$10 million Prime Minister has engaged in?
Senator Mark.
Sorry, sir. I thought...
Have a seat, have a seat, have a seat. Ministers. Senator Mark. In order to ensure that there's efficiency in this process, I would advise once again, just stand and ask your supplemental.
Can I proceed to my other?
This is the fourth supplemental on this question.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. Question number 53 to the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries.
Minister of Energy and Energy Industries.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, this question is in relation to the successful restructuring of Atlantic LNG, which was concluded in December 2023. And I hasten to add, it has never been done anywhere else in the world, but this government achieved it. After 5 years of negotiating on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and the answer to the specific questions are as follows. As has been stated previously on several occasions, the commercial terms of the Atlantic Trains 2, 3, and 4 agreements and corresponding offtake contracts are subject to non-disclosure agreements, as is customary in the energy sector, and cannot be disclosed. Mr. President, for the people of Trinidad and Tobago to understand, if we were to disclose the pricing formulas and the structures of Atlantic LNG, it would immediately make Trinidad and Tobago's Atlantic LNG platform and complex uncompetitive in the world, because the LNG is a global energy sector where there is constant competition for pricing and to secure contracts of supply. The second part of the question, the answer is the Atlantic Train 2, 3 merger with Train 1 comes into effect this year in October 2024. And the third part is the initial shareholding of NGC, had the government not done the restructuring, would have been 5.7%, because we had 10% in Train 1, 11.2% in Train 4, nothing in 2 and 3. This government of Trinidad and Tobago successfully negotiated across the whole board, Trains 1, 2, 3, and 4. We will now have a 10% shareholding, achieving a shareholding of an additional 4% at no cost to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And that is one of the benefits of the restructuring of Atlantic LNG for the future generations of Trinidad and Tobago.
Senator Mark.
Mr. President, may I ask this distinguished traveling, the distinguished minister, can I ask the distinguished minister, what sellout arrangements did the government engage in to move from 5.7% to the 11% ownership of the so-called new restructuring of the Atlantic LNG? Could you tell this country what sellout arrangements you had to engage in to move from 5.7%? You can't stand
Minister of
while I'm
Energy.
standing.
Minister of Energy. Have a seat, Senator Mark. Minister of
Yes.
Energy.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, it may surprise those on the other side, including Senator Mark, to know that this government did engage in absolutely no sellout. This government, starting with the Energy Spotlight conference that was held in 2018, declared to the major shareholders of Atlantic LNG, BP and Shell, that we wanted an increase in value for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. We then embarked on 5 very difficult and complex years of commercial negotiation, where we achieved not only better pricing, not singularly linked to Henry Hub, which today is at $1.71, whereas we are getting over $3, an increase of over 40% to 50%. We also got third-party access to gas and an additional shareholding for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, not for as much as a dinner mint, unlike what happened with NGC between the 2010 to 2015 period, where the UNC specifically chose constituencies which to use SIS to build recreational grounds, to build the Wheatham wastewater plant, to take $16 billion of cash for the people of Trinidad and Tobago out to fulfill their fantasies and their political ambitions, which led to a loss in 2015, where thankfully the people of Trinidad and Tobago returned sense and sensibility in a PNM government and are today deriving the direct benefits of a competent, uncompromised, uncorrupt government, the People's National Movement, unlike those on the other side, who that is what their tenure shows.
Senator Mark.
Given the sellout of the national interest by this corrupt, incompetent administration, Mr. President, I want to ask this distinguished gentleman.
Senator Mark. Senator Mark.
Distinguished.
Have a seat. Have a seat. So, the supplemental questions being asked and the responses being given are starting to get a tad bit aggressive. So I'm going to ask both sides to take it down a notch and get back to the procedure at hand, which is ask a supplemental succinctly, and on my right, respond to the supplemental succinctly. Continue, Senator Mark.
Yes, Honorable President, may I ask the distinguished gentleman, Member of Parliament for Port Spring North, St. Anne's West, whether the government that was supposed to get back some $100 billion from BP and Shell because of the transfer pricing mechanism which robbed this country according to
Senator Mark,
reports.
what is the question? What is the question,
The
Senator Mark?
question is, can the minister indicate why did this government fail to receive from those two companies, Shell and BP?
So, Senator Mark, you don't even need to finish the question. That question does not arise. Do you have another supplemental?
Yes, Mr. President, the sellout of the interests of this country. Let me just ask the Honorable Minister, can the Minister confirm or deny that in their sellout arrangement, they actually extended the license of the Atlantic LNG, which had expired, to 30 years, and to give them another 15 years,
So, Senator Mark,
which will give them 40 years.
Have a seat.
Can the minister confirm or deny?
Have a seat, Senator
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Again, Minister of Finance. Senator Mark, please make your question succinct. There's too much rambling in between the actual question itself.
Thank you. Mr. President, I'm guided by your ruling. Can I ask the Honorable Minister, the sellout arrangements that have taken place, can the Minister confirm or deny whether the government granted Atlantic LNG an extension of its license which expired for 30 years, and in the agreement agreed to an additional renewal of 15 years, giving Atlantic LNG a total period of 40 years to further exploit the resources of Trinidad and Tobago? That is the question we want to put to the Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, the restructuring of Atlantic LNG is obviously to give further life to Atlantic LNG. So, for example, Train 1, the liquefaction license, expired in 2018. So that brings to an end Train 1 unless it is extended. Additionally, Trains 2 and 3, the original license expires in October of this year. So is it that the UNC's energy policy is to let Trains 2 and 3 just wither away and not continue when there's a lot of life left in it? Beyond, well, what this government did is restructured it. And yes, we have granted extensions, but with additional revenue terms, additional shareholding, additional access to third-party gas, and a better structure for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, for Atlantic LNG, which will continue to provide for the future generations of Trinidad and Tobago well into the future and not expiring in October of this year. And that is, once again, the competence and the confidence of a PNM government in the energy sector doing what is right to ensure for the future generations.
You got a paper?
Is it, I have another supplemental, sir?
No, that's 4.
And I had 3. I have 1 more. I've expired.
Next question on the order paper,
My
please.
God, I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed. I wanted to deal with that sellout minister. Yeah. Okay, sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. I apologize.
No, have a seat. I'm not inclined to continue raising to my legs to bring this procedure back to order. So as far as I'm concerned, until the end of oral questions, walk a thin line.
Mr. President, Standing Order 46.6, he referred to my colleague as a sellout minister. In other words, he personalized it. He's imputing improper motives. I would ask that he withdraw it and apologize.
So, Senator Mark, again, the Standing Order 46.6 is indicated as imputing improper motives of the use of that particular phrase. I would ask you to refrain from using that phrase going forward.
Use a phrase on this.
Senator Mark, have a seat. Make this the last time I'm on my legs for this. Ask your question.
Thank you, Honorable President. Which question, sir?
55.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Question number 55 to the Minister of National Security.
Minister of National Security.
Thank you yet again, Mr. President. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has never engaged in any such dialogue. It follows, therefore, that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has never informed the government of Trinidad and Tobago that any such dialogue was undertaken by the TTPS. It would also follow that the government could not endorse any such action In addition, the government of Trinidad and Tobago has never suggested to the TTPS that this should be a considered approach as government policy. The government of Trinidad and Tobago expects the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to continue to develop strategies in responding to the crime problem and other crime management issues within the country. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has produced several strategic plans over the years, the latest being the plan of 2022 to 2024. This strategic plan guides the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in treating with existing administrative and operational issues. In addition, the 2023 Violent Crime Reduction Plan, VCRP, was designed to direct response to rising levels of illegal firearms, as well as troubling levels of gang activity. The purpose of the plan is to reduce the fear of crime and criminality through the improved relationship between the TTPS and the communities around Trinidad and Tobago. As it pertains to gangs, one of the primary aims of the VCRP is to dismantle criminal gangs, enhance intelligence capabilities, increase detection, and to successfully prosecute violent and prolific offenders. The TTPS's plan to dismantle criminal gangs, which is consistent with the government's policy, includes the following: conducting extensive data mining on gangs in accordance with the law, selecting the most violent gang members from the gang database in each police division and intensively targeting them, targeting the most prolific offenders, gang members, drug dealers, and other notorious persons for specific action, including execution of outstanding warrants, making effective use of the Anti-Gang Law, Interception of Communications Act, and other relevant laws to disrupt their activities and to prosecute gang members, assigning field intelligence officers in each police division to collect and process intelligence on criminal gangs, operationalizing gang intelligence units in each police division, and substantially increasing the number of officers dedicated to dismantling gangs. Applying precision-driven law enforcement and prevention strategies to those communities with persistent violent hotspots, and controlling movements on our roadways and public spaces. Those, Mr. President, some of the main features in the anti-gang thrust that this question quite properly focuses on. Thank you.
Mr. President, in light of the statement or the response given by the Honorable Minister, can the Minister indicate to the Senate why, in light of the widespread publicity of this particular situation, did the government not issue a clear and categorical statement dissociating itself from any kind of negotiations between this task force of the police service and gangs, rival gangs in the Port of Spain area? Why did the government not categorically issue a statement denying this?
Mr. President, the government's policy is very clear, very highly publicized. The government didn't have to extricate itself from any such action. The police service, led by the Commissioner of Police, made it quite clear, satisfactory enough to the government on behalf of the people, that it did not endorse or support any such policy or action. The government's position remains abundantly clear and further clarified today in my response to the Senator. I thank you very much.
Mr. President, can the Minister indicate whether he's aware that the Commissioner of Police has conducted a proper investigation into those allegations of negotiations between this task force and rival gangs in the Port of Spain area so that Trinidad and Tobago, consistent with government policy, could be very clear that this is not so. And therefore, if it is so, action is being taken by the Commissioner of Police to correct this matter.
Minister of National Security.
Mr. President, as alluded to earlier, the police service responded publicly to this situation following the allegations that were made. I don't know if the police service is still involved in any investigation on that or other matters. Maybe a certain deputy political leader of the UNC might be able to assist us in that regard.
President, through you again, can the minister indicate whether there are rogue elements in this Port of Spain task force that are operating independently of the police commissioner as well as the Minister of National Security in negotiating with rival gangs in the Port of Spain area? Can the minister confirm or deny that, Mr. President?
In the generality, it is well known that there are rogue members of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. There were rogue cabinet ministers in this country, some of whom found themselves before the court. That is quite well known to all of us in the generality. On this specific matter, however, the police services policy, the government's policy are well known and published. And if, in the generality, any member of the police service or any person goes contrary to those dictates, the guidance of those policies, then of course, if it amounts to criminal action will be, has been, in those circumstances taken. All of my response in the generality. Can't comment on the specific issue any more than I already have, Mr. President. May I thank you?
Senator Mark.
I think I've exhausted the gentleman.
Senator Dr. Paul Richards.
Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues. Question number 88 to the Minister of Rural Development and Local Government.
Minister of Rural Development and Local Government.
President, good afternoon to the honourable senators and to you, Mr. President. The full proclamation and implementation of the Miscellaneous Provisions Local Government Reform Act 2022 is expected to occur over the course of the next 12 months. In this context, local government bodies are, in fact, being continuously assessed to determine their readiness for implementation of the new system, and all appropriate action is being taken to strengthen, reform, and upgrade the bodies to handle their new role and responsibilities.
Thank you.
Senator Richards.
To you, Mr. President, have any challenges, major or otherwise, being identified by local government bodies in preparation for this new local government legal regime?
Minister.
Thank the honourable member. This is a comprehensive package of amendments, and there are, of course, challenges afoot. None of them are out of the norm or unexpected. The areas of concern involve simple capacity arrangements, space, financing, and structures. What's important is that the plant and machinery, the people and the process to go with the reform implementation has been mapped out and identified, and those structures are being transferred from certain areas to other areas or improved across the base. I regret that the answer is as open and as large as I've given without specifics. It's because the area itself is such a large area of reform.
President, through you to the Minister, given that there's been much discussion about the local government reform bill and its purported benefits to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and the fact that property tax collection for residential properties is linked to that, can the Minister be more specific about the evolution of this proclamation, given that the Burgesses who are in the process of paying property tax are going to expect benefits in less than the 12-month projection that you've identified?
Minister.
I'd remind that there's an annual budget cycle, and the Minister of Finance, in fact, provided already in this year's budget for an allocation to come from the Consolidated Fund for property taxes. So in a sense, the government has already put money for property tax from the coffers of the Consolidated Fund. With the proclamation of the methodologies to collect property tax, of course, those things will come in to supplement that position. There's been a reduction, a 1/3 reduction in property taxes. But to encourage the implementation, that's where local economic development is aggressively going on as we speak, in the construction of local economic boots, business development units, new projects, new products, and those things are rolling out in the course of the actual financial year as we speak. So those are ongoing, already part of the reform package, being delivered as we speak, and the fruits of those will come during the course of the execution of this year's PSIP and IDF. As we get those movements, you will begin to see the fruit of that on the field.
Senator.
Thank you. Final question, Minister. Given the fact that many, if not most, local government bodies have been notoriously derelict in supplying audited financials, and now they're being afforded the opportunity to collect funds to the benefit and the interest of the burgesses, have there been any training or stronger oversight financial mechanisms being instituted in these local bodies to ensure that the monies being collected are not misused and they actually do redound to the benefit of the burgesses?
Minister.
Very grateful for the question. As a matter of fact and law, the Finance Act December 2023 put the collection of property tax in the hands of the Board of Inland Revenue as and until the Minister of Finance, by order, passes that responsibility to local government. So the collection of monies is done by the Board of Inland Revenue. I will remind as well that with the full proclamation of the Public Procurement Act, there is now a completely different regime of expenditure, both in how it is procured and how it is accounted for, and the Office of Procurement Regulation is therefore there. So there are very large systemic changes that have been applied already to the equation. To answer the old issue of accounts and management structures, I can say that the ministry itself has updated all internal audits, has already done the auditing and position cycles in combination with the Ministry of Finance. So there is a completely different regime in effect right now. The past situation of no procurement law, Central Tenders Board, PS and other limits, etc., that's all done. That does not apply today. There is a completely different regime of expenditure and management and therefore accountability. And for the record, the Ministry of Finance is collecting property tax, not the local government bodies. It is applied to the local bodies under the Finance Act of December 2023.
Senator Patasa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, question number 89 to the Minister of Tourism, Culture and the Arts.
Tourism, Culture and the Arts. Thank you very much, Mr. President. The National Cultural Policy covers the period 2020 to 2025. The policy was laid in Parliament on February 12, 2020. Shortly thereafter, the implementation was largely stymied by the COVID-19 pandemic. However, notwithstanding the general disruption brought on by the pandemic to the cultural sector, the Ministry continued to support and build resilience within the sector. The major initiatives and programs that were successfully implemented in line with the 2 thematic areas and 5 goals on the National Cultural Policy are as follows. Theme 1, National Identity and Cultural Confidence. Goal 1, enhance cultural confidence by ensuring the participation of all in cultural development that transforms the social and economic experiences of the nation. The Ministry successfully held several cultural tourism exhibitions throughout Trinidad and Tobago. These include Treasures from the Hideaway, an exhibition of memorabilia from Dr. Slinger Francisco at the Piarco International Airport, Amazing Facts About Trinidad and Tobago at the Gulf City and Trin City Malls, and Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago at Trin City Mall. Goal 2, strengthen identities, national identity, and a sense of belonging among all social groups. The ministry has facilitated the hosting of cultural camps, music schools, mentoring by the masters, workshops as follows: 9 cultural camps, 252 participants; 3 mentoring by the masters workshops, 41 participants; and music schools capacity building initiative, 11 participants, representing 5 non-governmental organizations. Theme 2, harmonized and strengthened cultural environment as an enabler of cultural growth. Goal 1, secure and strengthen the infrastructure for cultural diversity, preservation, participation, exchange, and expression. Upgrade and refurbishment works were conducted and are continuing at the 5 performance spaces and at the Royal Victoria Institute. In addition, the ministry completed work on the Desperados Pan Theatre and continues to support the development of the Trinidad and Tobago Carnival Museum. The ministry has also supported festivals which have direct and indirect positive impact on individuals and communities. These include the inaugural World Steel Pan Day celebrations in 2023, the Bocas Lit Fest, North Coast Jazz, the Trinidad and Tobago Festival, Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival, and others. Additionally, during the period, the ministry participated and/or facilitated the following cultural exchanges: participation of a cultural delegation to the World Expo in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, March 10 to 11, 2023. The visit of Ms. Claudia Godoy, Brazilian photojournalist, to Trinidad and Tobago. The ministry collaborated with the High Commission of India to host Dance of India, led by Bola Pandey, during the period 4 to 7 April 2024, and in partnership with the Embassy of the People's Republic of China to stage the China Film Festival, April 11 to 14, 2024, in recognition of the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and Trinidad and Tobago. Based on the collaborative efforts of the ministry and its stakeholders, United Nations declared 11th August as World Steel Pan Day, and this year, the ministry will pioneer an annual World Steel Pan Festival from August 9 to 11 to commemorate this occasion. Goal 2, support artists, entrepreneurs, and industry associations in the production of high-quality output. The ministry has provided financial assistance in the form of grants and sponsorship to stakeholders in the amount of millions of dollars annually. During the period, the ministry ensured that the assessment committee for the artist registry was also reconstituted. This committee facilitates support for the practitioners in the cultural sector by corporate sponsors. Individuals, organizations, festivals, and creative works must be registered with the artist registry to enable prospective corporate sponsors to access the art and culture tax allowance. There was a total of 935 approvals to date in these categories. Additionally, the ministry was awarded $91,700 in grants from UNESCO to build the capacity of local visual and performing arts educators, as well as upgrade the database and website of the Artist Registry of Trinidad and Tobago. The former was successfully implemented, while the latter is currently ongoing and will be completed by July 2024. In March 2024, the ministry also collaborated with the United States Embassy and the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs in hosting an information session on the US P3 visa for local artists and entertainers seeking to perform, teach, or coach on a temporary basis in the United States. Thank you very much.
Honourable Senators, the time for oral questions has expired. I now refer you to Standing Order 2712, and as a reminder, I should just read it out. It states that questions on the order paper for oral answer, which remain outstanding at the expiration of 45 minutes, shall be answered in writing by the minister to whom the question was addressed. We shall immediately pass copies of his answer to the clerk for circulation to members at that sitting and for inclusion in the minutes of the proceedings. So, ministers who have questions still yet to be answered, you will be guided accordingly by Standing Order 2712 of the Senate.
motions relating to the business or sittings of the Senate and moved by a minister.
Leader of Government Business.
Mr. President, having regard to the interim report of the Special Select Committee of the Senate appointed to consider and report on the miscellaneous provisions trial by judge alone Bill 2023, 4th session 2023-2024, 12th Parliament, I beg to move that the committee be granted an extension to May 31st, 2024 to complete its work and submit a final report.
Honourable Senators, the question is that the Special Select Committee of the Senate appointed to consider and report on the miscellaneous provisions trial by judge alone Bill 2023 be granted an extension to May the 31st, 2024 to complete its work and submit a final report. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
President, having regard to the interim report of the Joint Select Committee appointed to consider and report on the Representation of the People Amendment Number 2 Bill 2020, 4th Session 2023-2024, 12th Parliament, I beg to move that the committee be granted an extension to June 30th, 2024 to complete its work and submit a final report.
Honourable Senators, the question is that a Joint Select Committee appointed to consider and report on the Representation of the People Amendment Number 2 Bill 2020 be granted an extension to June the 30th, 2024 to complete its work and submit a final report. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it.
Public business, government business, motions.
Leader of Government Business.
Mr. President, I wish to advise that there has been agreement between the benches to debate Government Motion Number 1 separately and Government Motions Numbers 2 and 3 together. I thank you.
Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. I beg to move the following motion standing in my name. Whereas Section 13(1) of the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority Act 2021, Act number 17 of 2021, provides inter alia that the minister shall by notification, subject to affirmative resolution of Parliament, appoint the Director General and such number of Deputy Directors General of the authority as are required. And whereas the Minister of Finance has by notification dated the 15th day of March 2024 appointed Ms. Patsy Latchman Atterbury to the office of Director General of the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority with effect from the date of her assumption of duty in that office, and whereas it is expedient to approve the notification, be it resolved that the notification of the appointment of Mrs. Patsy Latchman Atterbury to the office of Director General of the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority be approved. Mr. President, my understanding of parliamentary practice, the standing orders, is that a debate of this nature is limited to the suitability of the person to hold the position and nothing else. The job description for the Director General of the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority is as follows. The Director General is an executive position on the structure of the Revenue Authority and shall be an ex officio member of the Board of Directors. The Director General has the dual role of institution building and strategic and operational leadership of the Revenue Authority.